Before we begin, I would like to invite our listeners to help support our podcast and YouTube channel by becoming a Patreon of Vital Bioenergetics. By joining our Patreon, you are not only supporting the free content that we're producing, you will receive coupon codes, special offers, and inside information on the work that we're doing to help humanity raise their vibration to the next level. Please go to www.patreon.com/vitalbioenergetics and become a Patreon today. And now for today's podcast. Welcome to High Vibes with your host Bill G and co-host Nina G. At High Vibes, we're looking into what it means to be a fourth dimensional being in an ever-changing world. We hope that by listening to this podcast, you can feel a greater sense of peace and connection as we collectively raise our energetic vibration to the next level. And now for today's podcast. Hello and welcome to
High Vibes.
I'm Bill G and I'm here with Nina, and today we have a special guest again. Jayme Westrom is joining us, and this broadcast is going to be talking about something very, very important for us all to understand and listen to, because it is addressing the upper respiratory infection that everyone's talking about. And now that we're seeing that the conventional Western treatments are not as effective as originally billed that they would be, now it's time that we really bring some of the more alternative stuff to light so that we can take charge of our own bodies and take charge of our own health and be healthy, happy people within this whole paradigm. Jayme has been doing some research on a alternative to an I-mectin type treatment. And so, Jayme, take it away. And first of all, what was the impetus of the research and where did it lead you?
This started when I was trying to fill my medicine cabinet with natural remedies that would protect myself and my loved ones in the case that we were to fall ill. And one of the things that I wanted to have on hand was I-mectin, which used to be easy to get, used to be cheap to get, and that is not the case anymore. It's about 10 times more costly than it used to be, and just harder to obtain, harder to get a prescription for it. So eventually I was able to find some and realized very quickly that it was cost prohibitive to take that preventatively. So then you start thinking, well, what are the options? Let's say there's something that you really want in your energy field and it's ridiculously expensive. Royal jelly is another thing that comes from bees that's really great for you, but very cost prohibitive to take on a regular basis. Anyhow, I years ago was given as a gift this little box called a ray potency simulator. Have you guys ever heard of that?
No, we have not. So what does it do?
So what it does is it makes homeopathic remedies. It basically is able to transfer the energy signature or the frequency from something into either a tablet that you can take orally or a bottle of distilled water, so that you would take a liquid of that frequency. So they use this to make homeopathic remedies. And I was running low on this I-mectin that I wanted to keep in stock and have available and really take preventatively through all of this that's going on now. And I realized that I could put one of the tablets in this magical ray potency simulator and create a homeopathic version of it. As dowsers, how we test things is through some people use their pendulums, some people use kinesiology testing or O-ring testing. And so I started playing around with this homeopathic, and lo and behold, one drop under the tongue turns on pituitary, lung points, liver point, all the things that you would typically see associated with maybe a parasitic infection or an upper respiratory infection.
That's really cool. So when you turn on this immune response, so what happens to, all right, so I have this infection in my lungs and it's causing phlegm, it's making it difficult for me to breathe and whatever. So they're my symptoms. How does this help alleviate those symptoms?
So I'm using it as a preventative. And I should be clear that the version I made is not just I-mectin. It is also 2 different parasite formulas. Since the purpose of I-mectin is as a parasite cleanser, I also added 2 other parasite cleansers to the formula just to strengthen it up a little. And I also put a lung support formula in there. It's a little bit of iodine as a preservative. But what I feel like it does is it gives the information to your body that says, clear these things out, just as if you were to take the actual capsule or supplement or the pharmaceutical. And similar to the way acupuncture works, and maybe Nina can touch on this a little bit, you're using energy to affect the response in the body.
Oftentimes, say we were out of a supplement or we couldn't get a supplement, we would use the pendulum to kind of download that signature of whatever we needed into our field. And then it would come up that, we had done that, and then change would happen physically. And it's really so fascinating to do that. It is totally the same thing with acupuncture. You are kind of turning on energetic centers in the body with the needles. And then your body responds as though it is being fed. There's a very interesting sort of type of acupuncture you can do now, but it's with a light. And there's these stickers that kind of reflect your cells' light back to your cells so that they are fed and energized. And the needles do a very similar thing. And kind of what we've been talking about, there are many modalities that can do this.
What's interesting to me about this whole dowsing into the field thing, I really was not aware of who Malcolm Ray was. And I started doing some research to get ready for this podcast. I'm like, okay, I have this magical box that makes homeopathic remedies, and I really don't know much about where it came from. So I just Googled Ray potency stimulator, and sure enough, up comes this page about Malcolm Ray, who developed this method. And he was actually a Navy captain, and he learned radionics while he was in the Navy. And actually another captain had told him about healing with frequencies and the radionics, and he told the guy he was full of hogwash. And some time went by, and I guess he rediscovered it and then started getting really fascinated with the fact that you could use geometry and dowsing and a magnetic field to create energy signatures of anything that you wanted, anything on the planet. And so this little box actually works with a set of cards. I didn't use the cards for my remedy because I was making something very specific, but Malcolm Ray developed these cards that, like, imagine a little bit smaller than a playing card. And each card has a magnetic field attached to the card, and then an energy signature that's drawn using a pendulum. Basically, it's how it marks the frequencies and the signatures of, let's say it's arnica, okay? And then to make the remedy, you put this little magnetic card in the slot, and it transfers it to the tablet or to the vial. And I just think it's fascinating that this was being done in the 60s, by people in our military, and it's not like some crazy person
Right.
carrying around in there.
We actually have a couple of people. Yeah, we actually have a couple people in the American Society of Dowsers who are really into radionics. Marty Lucas is one of them, and I watched a talk that he gave on it, and he's got like a room full of sophisticated electronic equipment to measure the radionics of certain lands and whatever. And what he uses that for is to clear land, in particular, to clear energy out of land. You mentioned the putting energy into distilled water. The spiritual response therapy protocol actually has a protocol specifically for that called the healing circle. And what you do there is on a special chart developed by Robert Detzler, you put a vial of distilled water or a glass of distilled water, and you, with the intention, you energize the water, and then when you drink it, you are in essence taking in the essence of whatever you put in there, whether it's a supplement or whatever.
Someone also, and the name is leaving me right now, but someone did a whole lot of research on water and crystalline structures, and just by taping a word like love to a glass and just letting it sit for a little bit, it infuses the water with this beautiful energy.
His name was Dr. Emoto, which I find funny because it's like emotion or to emote.
Yeah.
Right. So and you can even put flower petals in water or an herb, and
it changes its structure, changes the vibration of it, or the sacred geometry around the structure itself of the water. It's really cool. So there's actually a lot of this coming up right now, and really coming more and more out into the mainstream.
So Nina mentioned before the broadcast that there was some specific like acupuncture protocols for dealing with this particular virus.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate a little bit onto those?
Sure. I actually found the acupuncture protocols to be highly interesting because they are no more than just balancing of the body. We're using points like large intestine 4 and liver 3, stomach 36, just a few normal points that you would probably get anytime you went to the acupuncturist for any reason. Most acupuncturists tend to do whole body balancing when you go there, but they were finding that when you just had the body balancing done, which is so very simple and easy to do, within 24 hours, like fever would go away and symptoms would release, and then the body would go back to normal, which is fascinating because this is supposed to be this terrible, horrible thing, and yet people out in the holistic health community are doing these very simple protocols and getting fantastic results.
And protocols that have been around forever.
Yeah.
And even the I-mectin's been around forever.
Well, at least for the last 70 years or something. It's crazy amount of time that it's been around.
Completely safe and effective.
Mm-hmm. And proven with a very long track record.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that's been around for 100 years is chlorine dioxide, which is a water purifier. And if you think about our cells being, our bodies being 90% water or whatever the percentage is, it's very high. Consuming water that has purification properties is very beneficial to your cells, and it's also a good way to get rid of parasites.
When I first hear chlorine dioxide, I'm thinking bleach. Now, that's not what we're talking about right here, right?
No. This was first made popular by a man named Jim Humble, and people referred to it as MMS. And he was in the field gold prospecting, and his crew all got sick with malaria, and they didn't have malaria tablets. So he gave them all chlorine dioxide, which he had on hand for water purification. And they all recovered within a few hours from malaria.
Wow.
And it's been shown to be 100% effective. The Red Cross did a study, which they now deny ever doing, 100% effective. And simultaneously, a man by the name of Andreas Kalker started studying chlorine dioxide. And there's probably 100 things in his book that people have recovered from, including the C word, autism, which can be caused by parasites, Alzheimer's and dementia, which can be caused by parasites, Crohn's disease, Lyme's disease, all types of disruptions in the gut, and rheumatoid arthritis, all these things, most of them have a parasitic component to them. You can see why people wouldn't want us, the entire population, to start taking anti-parasitics like
Right.
I-mectin or anything else that might kill them.
Well, I think it's in the last few minutes of our podcast here, I think it actually is a little important here to try and wrap our brains around why these remedies have been around forever. They are effective. They are safe. Why have why is the general public just not knowledgeable of these things?
I think it's because big pharma is training all our doctors now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it used to be that the churches trained doctors. There's a monastic medicine for years where the monks were growing herbs, and you would go to your priest to get healed,
Mm-hmm.
or your tribal elder. That's not the case anymore. And I think a lot of the training and education that's happening in this country is gone away from nature. The pendulum went in the other direction, and that's been done very intentionally and purposefully. But our body and our cells, we really like natural things. That's what our bodies respond to. No one's deficient in a pharmaceutical drug at the end of the day.
Right.
We're deficient in vitamins and minerals and oxygen and water and love and happiness and joy. Like, those are the things that we're deficient in.
Very well said.
So if somebody does want a homeopathic
there you go.
I-mectin, they are available on my website at biofieldexpert.com, and just Google homeopathic in the search engine and you'll find it.
And since you've announced this, how have sales been on this particular product?
Actually, I've only told mostly my clients that I see on a regular basis, and word spread like wildfire. So they're flying out my door, which is great. I feel like it gives people a sense of empowerment, a sense of protection. I know that it's doing something from the research that I have done so far. Is it a miracle cure? No, nothing is. We have to take care of ourselves at the end of the day. And that means eating right and exercising and getting fresh air and being in a positive state of being.
Absolutely. You can't just, this isn't just a magic pill we're talking about. We're talking about something part of a whole body regimen to get yourself in that state of homeostasis.
Yeah, because you might just be having a bad day. You could be in great health, but then say your stress levels are high on a particular day, or maybe you just didn't get enough sleep the night before, or maybe you're having a little bit of some allergies kicking in with the springtime coming, and you could be susceptible to
all
little
kinds
things
of
floating around. So this can be really nice to just kind of bolster you up.
Okay. Well, everybody, thank you very much for listening. And again, the website to go to get that I-mectin for yourself is biofieldexpert.com. And I'm Bill G, and I'm here with Nina and Jayme, and we will see you guys next time. Thank you for listening. For more information about Bill and Nina G, please go to www.vitalbioenergetics.com. See you next time.